All right, my friends, welcome to episode 436 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry, the professor, at Prof Plays Games on Blue Sky, and we are at Prof and Dev Play Games on YouTube. Over there is Anthony the Dev at Summer Speak on Blue Sky. How's it going, Anthony?
Doing well. Um, it is a Sunday, and my kids are done with school, and I really wish I could have a summer. You get a summer. I do not get a summer. Whew, sometimes where I'm just like, I would love to just not do work tomorrow. Even though I love my job. Still a job, and sometimes I would much rather just, I don't know, chill at home with a beer on the deck and
Hell yeah.
contemplate life
Mm-hmm.
in the sun. But
I'm thinking
no,
about that
tomorrow I'll be stuck in meetings listening to people most of the day. So
I'm thinking about that more and more now where I love my job too, and it's amazing, and I love that I have a summer, and I am gorging myself on summer, as you've seen. um, lots of free time, lots of fun being had. But man, I do think like I love hanging out with my kid. I love reading, playing games, drinking a beer on the deck, thinking about the sunset.
yeah,
uh,
ability
but
to just be present.
Yeah,
In the
absolutely,
world.
absolutely. Happy Father's Day, by the way, and to
Oh
everyone
yeah,
who
thank you.
celebrates.
Same to you.
You know, it's
Really
cool that.
nothing super special today. I got a nice card and tried to relax as much as possible today.
Very nice. We've on year two of our tradition of my daughter and I get a hotel room or an Airbnb and just hang out and play games.
Nice.
We went
Nice.
climbing to the rock climbing gym today and
Nice.
had a nice lunch out and played games. We are on. We'll talk about this later, but on Friday, I had a day to myself and I picked up Super Mario RPG on the Nintendo Switch at about 2 hours of gameplay from last fall, and now I'm currently at 11 hours.
Yeah, how long is it? It's not that long of a
No, it's
RPG.
12 to 14 hours depending on
Yeah.
side stuff. Yeah.
I
So
mean,
we're
we'll talk
near
about
the
that
end.
a bit.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. We're near the end.
That's cool to hanging out with your daughter.
Yeah.
It's gonna be my dada girl weekend next weekend. My wife and son are going camping, and so
Nice.
from Thursday to Sunday, we're just at home. Already picked out the movies. It's going to be a lot of Studio Ghibli movies.
Oh yeah.
There's ones that she hasn't seen that she's like, I want to see those. And I'm like, one of them I haven't seen. So
Which
we're
one?
going to watch Laputa, Castle in the Sky.
Cool.
Really early one. Weirdly, a lot of merch from that movie at the Ghibli stores in Japan. Far more than Nausicaa merch. So, or
Well, it's time to get
Mononoke,
caught
which
up
are
then.
kind of like the I'm like, okay, let's see what this is. I mean, it could be that's just really more popular in Japan, which is
Sure.
possible. Like, there's different. Like Mononoke isn't the most it's like one of his more celebrated movies in the West. In Japan, it's liked, but it's not. It didn't reach the heights of like Spirited Away or Totoro or things like that. So different cultures, different popularities, but we're gonna do that, and we typically go hang out on the island. We'll get some boba tea. We'll get some pizza. I don't know, chill. She'll get a couple long days of video games, I'm sure, to play Zelda. She's full into Tears of the Kingdom again. So
Oh, nice. My daughter is currently writing your daughter a postcard about having completed Age of Calamity.
nice.
She hasn't quite finished it yet, so we'll get it out there.
If mine has
She
finished.
has.
She played a lot of Age of Calamity.
You told me she has, so that's all I know.
think she has. Oh yeah, because she got really excited about it. But I didn't see her beat it. She just was like, "I beat it one day." I'm like, "Oh, okay." But yeah, it's good times.
Very good. It's a fun game. Lots of games, lots of fun games. Speaking of lots of games, over the past couple of weeks, there's some statistics we're going to talk about today, and whether or not it's really sustainable for the video game industry. So it was the topic that you brought, Anthony. So why don't you share the stats?
So it was a statistic I read in a kind of like a game business newsletter from May 30th, which is kind of the kickoff, that was the PlayStation Direct. That was...
Yeah, it was. Yep.
I think it was the 30th or 31st?
It was when I got to Humboldt, so
30th.
Yeah, around there, yeah.
I think it was it was right around. I had just gotten back from Japan. I barely remember it.
Yep.
But from there till this past Friday, June 14th, there have been 600 games shown off. That's not like new reveals. Some are games we already knew about shown off again, but 600 games in 2 weeks have been shown off.
That's insane.
And I can speak for myself. About Monday of this week, I kind of just started tuning out. Like, I couldn't take in anymore.
It's like oversaturation.
It is. I was just like, there's so much. Like, how can I even know? And this week was Steam Next Fest on top.
That's right. Yep. All the
it was so much. And I get that this is a response to like people over time where like E3 is kind of boring overall. Like you get your like the big studios are pulling out and doing their own things, and there's not a whole lot of other stuff going on. I would say the pendulum has swung too far the other way, where there's so much being announced. Only a small percentage of that actually stands out now. I don't know how much this actually helps. Probably 550 of those games, honestly, in a lot of ways. Like, how much is that? Like, you got probably I'll say 50 to 100 that stand out, that kind of bubble up, and people get the zeitgeist, and the rest, they might get their moment, they get their trailer shown, but then they've just fallen away.
Yeah, it makes me think of, and this is happening this week, Galvanic Games is closing, the Wizard with a Gun.
Yeah, that one hurts.
Well, yeah, that's under Devolver, and so are you.
Well, Devolver published Wizard with a Gun. Yeah, they didn't. Galvanic is not owned by...
Okay. Oh, okay, so it's just published by them. Got it.
Just published by Devolver.
Okay. Well, I was still thinking about that because, that came with a trailer at some showcase, and there was like just such excitement around that moment, I'm sure. And then for it not to be something
didn't translate to sales.
Yeah, exactly. I think the estimates were something like 100,000 total, maybe 126,000. It's just not enough, and some of those are discounted and whatever else. So,
and I'll be honest, like you take those stats, most of those 600 games we saw, a majority of them are going to sell less numbers than that.
Yeah, right.
A lot less. 50,000 sales through Steam for an indie game is pretty good for most. Maybe you get about 5% of the indie game stuff getting released that gets over 100K, and then like 1% get closer to 500,000 or more.
Yeah.
It's a little painful. And I think for myself, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a very, very saturated industry right now. There's games all the time dropping, all these trailers showing games that are going to drop throughout the year and next year.
Yeah, there's a stat that I read, and I can't remember where it was from. It was in the last couple of days where maybe it was Steam, maybe it was somewhere else, some platform last year, 776 games launched, which is more than the entirety of the Super Nintendo console generation. How many games that console had?
Oh yeah. Steam, number of new games on Steam daily is like... So currently... here we go, Statista. So, we've had the stat for, in 2023, there were over 12,000 games released on Steam worldwide.
Oh, that's insane, yeah.
As of this year to date so far, this is until March of 2024, there's been 2,403.
Wow, that's
through the first 3 months of the year.
So I wonder what stat I was reading, because that far eclipses the Super Nintendo.
Maybe it's dropping. What's...
It may even have
maybe
just
that's
been
daily, monthly, actually.
or it may even have been during Summer Game Showcase. That many is more than how many were released on the Super Nintendo.
That's possible.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. It's so many.
Well, I find that,
and I get it.
I find the same thing for myself, where keeping up with new stuff, like I tried for a long time, and then those games just came up on my backlog. So then I stopped trying that, and now I'm just playing the games on my backlog for the most part. I don't know how. God, like you said, very few hit 50,000 or 100,000 or even 500,000. But is any of that even enough to sustain those studios? Like Balatro, I'm sure it's a single dev, so sure. But
sure, and Balatro blew up, and that did fine. But I bet Balatro, single dev, at the price point it was, could have sustained on 50,000.
Okay.
But as soon as you start getting more than one dev, like those prices start skyrocketing very quickly.
The burn rate of your studio is
it can be a lot. So it's a complicated business right now, and I think games themselves are pretty. Again, this isn't a pessimistic thing. I just think that the games industry itself is in a weird spot right now. There was the boom of the pandemic, and we came out of that, and it's not like it's crashing. Like, no, that's the thing. That's the crazy thing about, like, we've had all these layoffs in 2023 and more than 2023 and 2024.
Yeah.
It's just that the line didn't stay going up at the same rate. It flattened a bit. It's still going up slowly, not as fast, but this is the fallout of that. I'm like, what does it look like if it went down? Like,
oh God, yeah.
I'm like, holy cow. And I mean, I know we didn't even mention it last week, and this is an aside. Another thing that kind of got me this week of being like, we had Microsoft's big showcase, and they showed all sorts of stuff on Sunday, and it was like, that's cool. And there was a lot of buzz around it, but I'm like, Microsoft has laid off 2,400 people this year in games and closed studios. And now it's cool that we're all excited about the games that they're making, and I am too, but does that mean they just mean nothing that they laid these people off in the end? That we're just the general populace is like, all right, they laid people off, but look at the games they're making. That's exciting.
No, that's definitely the PR beat that was hit for sure. And the thing that was, I think, the grossest thing for me were two things. One, I don't really think they needed to have Spencer, Booty, or Bond in that presentation. They probably could have pulled them out of that. But the interview with IGN afterwards, where Ryan McCaffrey asked him, I'm going to get crucified by the internet if I don't ask you about these layoffs. And the basic answer was, it's hard when that stuff happens, but we need to look at resources so that we can have showcases like this and put the resources in the games that are coming out. And it's like, oh my God, dude, gross.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you spent $70 billion to buy Activision, and we're like, wow, we don't need a chunk of Activision, actually.
Well, and
these people are redundant. We don't need those. And then the Hi-Fi Rush. I mean, everyone's going to point to the Hi-Fi Rush and Tango System Works of being like, why didn't you keep these guys around?
They said basically that they, obviously Hi-Fi Rush just came out and they're like, what's on the docket? And nothing was on the docket for years, to come. So it's like, we're not going to sustain a studio. Like, this is the point where we can drop you because you're not working on anything. Nothing's going to come out for the next 6 years or so.
It won't be 6, but
whatever the number is, but it's not.
It is that they're like, we don't want to sustain you for the development cycle of another game, which is games take development cycles. This isn't. It's not like a game materializes out of the ether. It's like they put all their work in and they made Hi-Fi Rush, and they could have made Hi-Fi Rush 2,
which would have been even bigger.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there where I'm just like, it's disingenuous to me, their statements on, like,
absolutely
why. Like, I'm like, you're just cutting money. It's less about the they want to spin it as it's about the products they're making and their investments and what products they want, and I'm like, it's not really in the end. It's just about wanting to make the profitability charts look better overall.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. The idea of, caring about the layoffs, and then the next week we have a glitzy showcase, and it's like, wait, what? I thought the media did a pretty good job still of talking about that, but
Yeah.
it got drowned out because their showcase honestly was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It was, and they have good stuff coming out, and they did a good job of presenting that. But
yes,
there's also, I'm like, the but is on. My big worry here is like, we see these companies that run these games. What happened? So Machine Games is doing the Indiana Jones game. I thought what they presented looked fine, looked better than what they've shown before to me. What happens if that's just an okay seller? Do they just cut Machine Games at this point? They're like, all right, wasn't a hit, bye. Where I'm like, this is a studio that has a track record of quality. Not every game is going to be a hit. Are you willing to... Right now, I don't believe Microsoft's willing to sustain companies in that way.
No, I don't think so either. Well, that was when Senua's Saga was coming out.
Oh yeah, like I feel like
Ninja
there's that.
Theory, you know?
Ninja. I'm like, Ninja Theory is probably closed.
You know, and people are like, well, Microsoft came out and said no, we're going to put them on the next project and we're moving on. Like Microsoft has been, or Xbox has been lying the last couple of years. You know, everything they've said has basically been a lie.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that.
I definitely worry about Ninja Theory a lot.
Yeah.
But so that's just my aside through all of this. It was like, that's all going on. And then you have all these game announcements and tons of indie stuff. Filling, I wouldn't say filling space, but being bubbled up because a lot of the big studios don't have a whole lot. Weirdly, like Ubisoft does now with Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah, they have the makings of a pretty big year with just
they
those
do.
two.
They're kind of on the, I would say, opposite wave than the rest of the industry. Like this is the year that they're getting some of their big stuff out. Speaking of AC, Shadows is being done by the team that did Odyssey, so that makes me excited.
I don't pre-order games very often, and I pre-ordered that one because of that. And you know, it's in Japan, but because of that.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you're a team that makes Assassin's Creed like how I would like Assassin's Creed to be.
Exactly. Well, and Ubisoft started off the year with Lost Crown, which is still a game of the year.
That's pretty good
for many people. So they've had fucking great year.
They've had a decent year there.
Well, I mean, Outlaws looks really good, and I don't like Star Wars.
Yeah,
it looks really good.
They're doing a good job there. Getting Emilia Clarke in there. Did you see that part?
I don't think I did. No,
so Emilia Clarke plays a character in live action Star Wars. She was in the Han Solo movie.
Oh yeah, that I knew.
But she's in this game.
Oh,
as
I did not know.
Because it's all dealing with the criminal syndicates, and they actually showed up and it's voiced by her and looks like her and the whole thing. And I was like, oh, okay. So they paid some money to make sure they got the actress to do this.
Right.
But so you have that as an upswing. I guess we're getting... I mean, we can talk through other stuff here. Like, Veilguard's coming out. I hated that initial trailer so
You
much.
were not alone, man. Most of the internet absolutely...
I mean, it looks like a hero shooter. It's just...
Yeah.
But I'll say it, like, watching the gameplay, it looks better. Like, the gameplay looks fine. It's a little bit grittier. The characters still seem too clean to me.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like this... I don't know. It's been way too long since I've been out of EA, but it feels to me like this is what the art style would be focused grouped into by EA execs who are like, so look what's popular. The art pop styles that are popular like 2 or 3 years ago are Fortnite, Overwatch, and they're like, no, you need to make the games look more like the popular thing.
Yep.
And the studio in BioWare is just like, fine. We'll do it, because that is how it used to work there. Like, the executive would be like, well, this is what's hot now. Do that. And you're like, that's not the brand, though. That doesn't matter about the brand. This is what's popular now, and this is what's making money. So do that.
Well, and if it's true that the game switched from like a, live service, multiplayer, whatever, to what maybe the studio wanted in a single player, if you get the single player that you want to make, maybe you give on the art style. I don't know.
Yeah, you might give on a few things.
Yeah, but I think
this is the third version of the game.
Yeah,
Pretty sure.
at least, man. It's been 10 years since Inquisition.
10 years. I'm pretty sure the game. Who was I talking to? I'm Laidlaw at PAX one year. He was. I don't know. Just randomly, we met through other people, and we're just sitting around chatting at one of the booths and commiserating over EA. We had both out of EA at that point. We're commiserating over that. And the version of Dragon Age, do you want to call it 4 at that point? Like, I don't think it had a specific title. It was just the Dragon Age after Inquisition that he had been working on after Inquisition had shipped. This got canned. And that was the stuff, like, they had short story thing come out, and it was the heist. Like, you were running heists in Tevinter. Like, that was the whole thing. Part of that seems to be in Veilguard. Lightly, but not as much as he was describing of being like, no, this was like a game about putting teams together to do heists and like, but that wasn't a live service game. That got killed because they wanted live service, and then Anthem came out and killed live service for EA. Killed that live service. So that one got killed, and now we're at minimum we're on the 3rd version.
I think every once in a while about Anthem, about how maybe I should give it another shot. And then I think more soberly, and I think, no.
Yeah.
I have too much in my backlog, man.
Gameplay-wise, that gameplay of Veilguard, I was more into it the further it went along. Get more abilities. It plays a bit more like I would expect how Inquisition played. A little bit more the way you control your party members and give them do abilities and stuff was a bit more Mass Effect-y. The director of it gave an interview on it was an RPG site. God, what was it? It wasn't RPG.net. RPG. Crap. I wish I remembered what it was. But I saw it get linked through Reddit on the Dragon Age subreddit, and he was talking about like influences, things like that, and the skill tree. Like, people were talking like, oh, how's the skill tree? Someone equated it to Final Fantasy X Sphere Grid, and he's like, that's not a bad comparison. It's not perfect, but kind of similar in how you start in a center place and it sprawls out. But then he talked then about like how you manage the characters, and one of his favorite games is Final Fantasy XII.
Yo, isn't that the one I linked you to, that article? I said, Anthony, look at this headline.
It might have been, and then I saw it like all over the place online. People were talking about, like, I was seeing it come in being like, oh, this dude was like, Final Fantasy XII is within his top 3 games of all time. I'm like, okay, I'm listening a little bit more now. I have a feeling like that is, you'll be able to customize your squad mate AI a bit more.
I gotta say, man, like, I had mixed feelings about Final Fantasy XII and the Gambit system throughout, which chronicled on the RPG Backlog podcast. Check that out. But now that I'm playing other RPGs, continuing on, I think about it often and about how it would be kind of nice if I automated a couple of those things in the background. Like, it's really kind of ingenious.
Oh, did I lose you?
No, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. I got you. Yeah.
It's kind of ingenious, man. Like, I still think about it whenever I play other RPGs.
Yeah, it's a pretty powerful system. I think about it a lot. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And there's a thing, like, it would be we look at Dragon Age Inquisition and now Veilguard, and I brought Mass Effect up. Like, if I was able to at least do some level of AI customization for my party members, would have been really neat in Mass Effect. Like, really neat. Because, I mean, they basically just do their own thing, and you direct them to go, like, stand there, usability when you want. But that's about it. Like, other than that, you don't really control what they're choosing to do at any given moment. So, So the Veilguard thing and like that interview and everything, I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'm not saying that like, how do I put this? I'm cautiously optimistic about it.
That's a
It
great
is
place
still
to be.
EA,
Yep.
and it could still be screwed up. I still don't think this game is going to sell incredibly well overall. For the amount of time it's been in development, I think it's like, I don't even know how much Dragon Age Inquisition sold.
I mean, God, it must have been. I'm gonna guess 10 million. This game's a
Highest
year.
selling games. Mass Effect 3, it was at 7 million. Inquisition was 6 million.
Jesus. Okay. Wow.
It's probably maybe trickled in some more since this article. No, this is 2021, so this is pretty.
No. So yeah.
So it's less than Mass Effect 3. Slightly more than Mass Effect 2.
I guess that is a little surprising to me. I thought it had a bigger reach.
Here's my thing: is I think EA is like, if this doesn't sell 10 million copies, we're done with Dragon Age.
Well, if Inquisition didn't sell 10 million, and that was, I mean, I know there were criticisms. I had my own, but people really liked Inquisition, and it was Game of the Year for IGN at least. Maybe other places as well.
That doesn't matter for EA anymore.
No, I just mean in terms of sales. I wonder.
Yeah, I just think internal expectations are going to be really high to recoup money and like to tell investors that this is a profitable game and X, Y, and Z. Because I don't look at EA anymore as like I don't see it run as a focused game company anymore, as opposed to an investment company.
Oh yeah,
anything.
Sure.
Like,
well, there was an article with somebody in Square where they were talking about no. It was the guy who used to work at Square and was talking about kind of Square's unrealistic expectations, and he's kind of like, they don't really have unrealistic expectations. They're comparing everything to the return on investment of just a straight stock market investment.
Yep.
And keying that around 12 to 14%. So if it doesn't clear 12 to 14%, then what's the point?
Yeah. It's a different way to look at it, and a lot of these big companies have moved past really being about the products they're out. They're just like, no, they're just looking at like, are we doing a better return than the stock market?
Exactly. And it just takes the art piece out of the equation, which I know has been out of the equation for a while, but that's still disheartening. Like, isn't that worth a couple percentage points at least?
We're seeing it more and more. And I don't, with the current executive team of EA, which has been there since I was there, like, it hasn't shifted. Andrew Wilson is still the CEO.
Yeah. He is, yeah.
Like, there's been a few executive shifts over the years, but not enough to really change the boat. And I'm like, this is the direction he's set. This is what's important to him. Not oh, this game was well received critically. It's like, cool. We can use that for marketing, but did it make us money? What's our ROI? And I mean, EA has always been about ROI.
I just think
I learned that quite well.
Of course. I just always thought that like FIFA Foot, fucking whatever it is, the fucking packs and shit would cover, expenses for some.
They don't want to cover expensive for things.
Clearly not. Yeah, exactly.
It's all about the ROI. There were small games that were profitable at PopCap. They just weren't profitable enough, I guess. And by profitable, they were like, they made like around $3 million of profitability a year on a small team less than 10. But
right, which is great for that small team.
Yeah, but as the EA, they're like, that's chump change. We don't. Those 10 people can be working on things that may have an ROI way bigger. So you should kill that game, put them on other projects.
Well, that's why Toys for Bob
and it's profitable.
Put on
I'm like, what?
Call of Duty.
Yeah, I'm just like, it was a profitable game. It could have sustained for a very long time. But again, it doesn't matter for investors. Investors don't care about that.
Nope, they want vertical growth.
Yep. So it changes the whole thing. And unfortunately, with like BioWare, they're just trapped in that now. Because a lot of these studios, that are held by these bigger companies they want to make good products. They're in quality games and do their best there. But I would say that the executives, the most important thing is really just that ROI.
Yep. Well,
if they could put out a game at a quarter the budget of these AAA games that they have to make that would sell just as well, they'd be happy to do it.
I kind of wish that game development studios would kind of think about that, though. Like, I'm thinking Sony, for example, but other ones, these high budget prestige AAA games, and I know that gamers writ large want them. But if they were able to scope down both the length and like the fucking graphics or whatever, and just make more sustainable projects in terms of budget, I feel like they would have more profitability if it was a good game, and then they could sustain the team more. But maybe that's just a pipe dream. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's possible. But again, you brought up the thing, like there's this weird feedback loop of like the AAA games have to be the best looking, sounding things out there, and that is just keeps increasing. Which is almost unsustainable at this point. Things are going to have to like change somewhat there. Like the costs to doing like real time, getting close to photorealistic rendering is just kind of absurd.
It is unsustainable, and I keep thinking about it in terms of Nintendo, who for a long time I was frustrated they didn't follow the power. And now I'm like, wow, you were the ones that were smart. You said long ago, I think it was Iwata who said long ago, like this will be unsustainable in the future. So we're not going to do that.
We're not. They're not chasing that at all.
At all. And partially, I thought, I think partially it's just like their art, but also it's the business of it. They're like, they saw it a long time ago. It was not going to be sustainable, and they're sitting on so much money. Because of that decision, it's ridiculous. They're making good games. They're not blowing budgets to make them. Tears of the Kingdom is not the, think about, I don't know, fucking Spider-Man 2 or whatever. It's not shiny like that, but good God.
Yeah. I really wonder what the budget, like they're so tight-lipped. I have no clue what the budget of like Tears of the Kingdom was. I'm sure it's quite a bit less than your like Call of Duties. Veilguard, way less than Veilguard being in development for so long. Any of these like big AAA things, and I'm like, yeah, part of it is the art doesn't like they don't require such a huge team to make the game. They don't need the army of artists, or like Ubisoft where they have thousands of people, thousands of artists working on AC Shadows around the world. Like it's a choice. The art is a choice, but the art is also it's an interesting thing. Nintendo has what I think has probably chosen a path of sustainability overall. They're like, but they always have in some ways. Like that's just been their motto. Like make really fun games. They don't have to be the best looking things out there. They need to look good, but they're stylized. They're specifically. There's a Nintendo style and look that they go for, not we're making a photorealistic game. It
looks gorgeous. I mean, the Super Mario RPG came out in 2023, the remake, and it looks really, really good for a Mario. It's not looking like Call of Duty or whatever. But I also feel like Nintendo has this, and maybe this is wrong, but I feel like when the business reports come out and whatever else, and all the talk about business is like, this is who we are. If you want to invest with us, you're investing in who we are. We're not changing for you. You can invest with us, or
pretty much.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So
happy to say Devolver's like that too. They're like, we're fucking weird. You understand that? Like, invest in us if you want, but that's your fault.
Well, and it's only in London, right? You said it was only the London Stock Exchange?
Yeah, and it's not even the whole company. It's not a majority of stock is held publicly. So,
interesting. Yeah.
And like their stock price goes wildly up and down. And as they said, they're trying to educate people investing. And they're like, this is what we do. If you just want to invest for like short-term gains, it's probably not the place for you. Like, Go
I feel
find
like
something else.
it's more of an invest if you like us and want to support us or whatever
Kind
thing.
of.
So,
And they're like, yeah, and over long term, we will do well. Um, they're like, our business model, our history has shown that how we make games and how we publish games works and is sustainable and does produce profits. It doesn't produce them in the absurd way of line goes up all time.
exactly.
Did it. So, yeah, they have a similar approach, though, to Nintendo being like, this is who we are. You invest in us because of who we are, not what you hope to happen and want changed. Because you can't change it, actually. Sorry.
No, definitely not.
I'm just trying to think. I'm like, do we even... Like, that's the thing. I was looking at... Nintendo just doesn't really publish anything of their budgets.
No, they definitely publish what they've sold. They publish revenue, I believe, obviously, because they have investors. But it's not, maybe it's not down to what they spent on each game or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just general revenue, profit, and whatever else.
Yeah, there was a lot of media outlets like saying Breath of the Wild cost 120 million budget, but most of that's been debunked now, as in that's too high.
Yeah. It does feel too high only because they built some of this, at least, right, with Breath of the Wild, and this was starting off as DLC for Breath of the Wild. They're like, no, we're going to build this into the game.
Yeah, even at the high end, like said, people calculate that Breath of the Wild, like wild estimate, just based on like salary ranges that could for games and what's kind of been assumed the team size, and are seeing it's like Breath of the Wild was probably around a $75 million game.
That's
somewhere 75 to
90,
which is like half of a AAA game.
Well, it's so. I mean, $75 million is a ton of fucking money, but it's it's reasonable in like what we've been hearing about
for a Zelda game that that's going to sell millions. Like, I think you could probably put out a pretty stinker of a Zelda game. Nintendo won't, but they could, and it's still going to sell millions of copies. So,
oh yeah,
they know what budgets they should do if they want to sustain. Like, and I feel like a lot of the bigger publishers in the US don't scope that way. They'll over budget, hoping that the thing is a wild hockey stick success.
Oh, yeah.
We see that in movies right now as well.
Yeah.
I think there's just a big correction in entertainment budgets going on right now across the board.
Oh yeah,
there should be. I'm hoping
streaming.
There is.
Yeah. Well, we're seeing it with streaming.
Yeah,
for sure. So
yeah. So we're off in the weeds here, but from where we started, but
that's the best place to be.
Yeah, but it is true. Like, my perception of the industry right now is like, I'm in this and making stuff for it, and I'm not pessimistic, but I'm pretty cautious about the next few years.
Yeah. The survive to 25. We need a rhyme for 26 now.
Oh, I think people are just wanting to be very optimistic about 25 being the time that there'll be turnaround.
That's what I'm talking about. It's going to have to change to 26, whatever rhymes with that.
I think it's going to take a little bit for all these corrections to come out. And
people are hoping that GTA 6 is going to lift other boats, but I don't know. How many people who buy GTA buy other games?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm like, is GTA 6 going to bring in a large amount of people who aren't buying video games at all?
It's going to benefit the console manufacturer, because someone who bought GTA 5 on PS3 and didn't stick around for PS4 or whatever, it's like, oh, the new one's out. Okay, what do I play it on? Okay, I'll buy that. I'm like, okay, so Sony will be happy, but
console manufacturers will be happy.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like they've been cagey if GTA 6 will even be on PC at the moment or launch on PC.
I thought they pretty much said no.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was saying, like, cagey. Like, they haven't confirmed it, but I'm like, the market could change in the next couple of years before it comes out, where they're like, no, we'll launch on PC. I know that they probably could. That's the thing with it.
Why wouldn't they? To be honest, is it just because focusing on a single SKU or whatever is just better for development?
I guess so. Or they just I mean, that just might be
marketing deals with Sony or something.
Yeah, just not even marketing deals. Maybe it's just like how they want to roll stuff out, that they see that it's better to launch on one. The double dipping that could happen.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like,
that's true.
They have so much marketing data to see how well different rollouts have worked, but
5.
I mean, it's only for money. That's the only reason. If they truly thought they could make more money by launching it everywhere at launch, like across the board, they would do it.
They would do it, yeah.
This isn't about customer satisfaction at all.
No. Not much of this is.
So, yeah. Next few years are going to be a little rough to bring it all the way back around to all those 600 games shown. It's going to be rough for a lot of those games. I think it's great that they got some publicity, but when it comes down to it, there's a lot of entertainment coming out daily. And it's hard to stand out now. It's always been hard to stand out, and it's even harder with this many things coming out of high quality.
Yeah, I think that for sure it's always been hard to stand out, but now it's just we don't have time for everything. There's so much. Yep.
And for those forever games.
Yeah, well, I was about to pivot into that. The research that was about, was it like 60% of gamers are playing games that are 6 years or older or 5 years or older. And those are the forever games, or people like me who are like, fuck, I'm going to go back and play my backlog or whatever. But it's the forever games that are just holding people.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word hostage, but they're holding people.
No, that's just the people have found what they like, and they're like, why do I need something else?
Well, especially when those things, Fortnite specifically, but those things are where your friends are. It is the place you hang out. Like, I played Rocket League for years throughout the pandemic. I mean, I like Rocket League, but it was where I hung out with my friends,
Yeah.
So
it's the same thing. It's the social connection piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot there. There's those, and then you're competing with high quality content coming out of streaming and movies and TV.
Yeah, I mean, some of the best television ever is happening now.
Yeah.
House of Dragon season 2 is what, tonight?
I saw that. Yeah, I still need to watch House of the Dragon.
So do I. I heard it was really good.
I'm like, I don't know, man. I can't. I don't know if I can touch this world again.
I'm so proud that I got through Fallout. I'm like, wow, I finished a television series by myself. Getting burned by D&D on Game of Thrones, man. I can't go back and watch that shit because they roasted it so badly.
Yeah.
Check back on episode 200 and what the fuck ever. We talked about that extensively. Why don't we move into what we've been playing and pull ourselves out of this nosedive of misery?
Yeah. I think really the only main thing that I've been playing is Diablo IV more, and I got a level 100 rogue. Did that whole thing.
Nice.
Discovered that they added basically like their version of riffs from D3 into D4.
Okay.
Took them long enough, but they added it, and I'm like, was doing those, and I'm like, these are great. They're real fast.
Is that in-game content?
Yeah, it's in-game. I don't remember when it unlocked. Level 80 or something. It clicked over, and it was like, hey, you should go do one of these. And I'm like, what is this? Oh, they call it something else. The Pit. But it's riffs. It's the same system. Loot doesn't... You go in, you try to kill things as fast as you possibly can to fill a meter before the timer ticks down, and you fight the big boss at the end once you fill the bar. And nothing drops loot until the end. You kill the boss. So it's all just about testing how fast can you do this.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It's fun. It gives you a ton of experience. It's just really, really fast. You do that, and you can choose as you do it, you unlock higher levels of it, and they get harder and harder. And it needs more health, they do more damage, etc., etc. So you can kind of push yourself to your limits in some ways like that, which is great. Neat experience. Really getting to 100, doing the whole thing. I should go fight. There's the two like very in-game bosses, which is Echo of Lilith and Duriel. They had a Duriel you can summon, which I'm like, oh no, I hated Duriel in 2. Did they make it as painful in 4? But really, I have those last 2 in-game bosses to do to check what that's like. But I would say I'm like, I think they've done it. I think D4 is actually like fully its own game now. It feels like a complete thing. I'm really looking forward to the expansion. Now I want to play the class, the Spiritborn. That class looks cool.
It sounds even though that trailer was hard to fucking watch, that class seems cool, and I'm really stoked. I was thinking when we did Fantasy Critic that this is gonna have its Diablo 3 moment where Reaper of Souls moment or whatever. Where it seems like that's what this is. It's come around and people are really kind of high on it, and I'm hoping to God that the expansion or whatever is more of that, because I want to see Diablo be something that is good, even though I'm not playing it right now. I'm gonna start playing it soon, in earnest. I'm kind of glad I waited, to be honest.
It's a good. I mean, I'm glad I played it at the beginning, got through the story. I never have to play the story again. You can just create new, because it still holds. I create a new character. It's like, do you want to skip the story? And I'm like, yes. I don't care. Just let me start running things and killing things.
Yep.
And it's great. Because I never want to go through that story again. But I will continue the story and the expansion. Excited for the Spiritborn. It's kind of like a little monkish, which I really like the monk from 3. But then we get to go to Kurast again.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
I mean, that's cool. And like stuff they've shown off was like, you're gonna hit places from D2. Like Travanical is totally there. They've shown screenshots. I'm like, oh yeah, we've seen this. This is a very nice version of D2 Act 3, and just as like Kyrgyzstan in D4, like you go back to places from D3 in D4.
That is this is the first time that it's going back to D2 stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's
no, D2 didn't. What'd you do? You're in the other continent, and then you came over from Lut Ghislaine, you went to Kurast. Yeah. And then from Kurast you went and killed Mephisto and went into Hell.
Yeah.
And then you went to the north for Act 5, and you were in the Barbarian lands, which are in the other continent. D4 just focused on an entirely new continent. The north part of the Kurast continent.
The hit of nostalgia that is promised, that is maybe on the horizon for this expansion. Again, this is why I want to get to that point, because if it hits on that promise, like, it's going to be the most nostalgic thing I think I've ever experienced in a game. I want that so badly.
I mean, you haven't seen the story. You watched the trailer, right? The gory Hellraiser body work.
Half of it. I threw fingers.
Do you get who she's talking to? Who the demon is? Has that been spoiled for you?
No, it has not.
Do you want it? Do you care?
I don't. No, you can tell me.
It's Mephisto.
Oh, interesting.
In the stone that she's carrying is the soul of Mephisto.
Oh, okay.
And he's corrupting her. And I'm like, well, you did kill Mephisto in Kurast area. So I'm like, he's going to the Tomb of Alcarat. Like, there's something Mephisto's doing. So that's who you're chasing.
This is cool.
Which I'm cool. Okay. Mephisto's great. That'd be a cool one to bring back.
Yep.
My hope is that this isn't. I don't think this is the only expansion. I think they've said with 4 they wanted to last longer and do one expansion.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm hoping that after this expansion, because then they've actually done most of this other continent that's been in the maps since D2, like the world maps, that we go back to the original continent. Maybe see Lut Ghislaine area, or Tristram or the monastery. Any of
That
that
would
could be
be
really neat to actually go back there now after
hell yeah.
in-game lore-wise. We're like 30, 40 years on from
Yeah.
D3 in some ways. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm glad you didn't immediately go back there, where D3 immediately did. I'm like, D4 separated itself. But if you can have the story wrap back to that now, I'd be pretty happy. To just bring it full circle.
Yep. Yep.
Maybe
That's exciting, man.
end it back in Tristram. That'd be cool if the last expansion was just like finish the story back in Tristram. Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's exciting.
Maybe that will never happen, but that could be. I don't know.
No, but I think you're right. D4 established itself as a different thing, a different story, not just trading on nostalgia. But now that they've done that, now just little hits of nostalgia, kind of cool.
Yeah,
Kinda
you
cool.
need to set yourself up right, and I think they've now done it, and now I feel confident we can get back through it. And when talking about game sales, so you can buy the expansion right now in the game, like you can pre-order it in the in-game shop. There's the $90 deluxe expansion, tons of cosmetics, some of which they're like you get right now in the game. One of which is like these angelic wings, like light angelic wings. The amount of people playing the game running around with those wings is a lot. And I'm like, they've sold a lot of copies of this expansion already.
Well, because I mean, the way that Xbox has done it before, the expansions are not part of Game Pass. Is that still the case?
I have no clue. They haven't talked what they're going to do. Is D4 on Game Pass yet or not?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. Yep. That's when this 1.0 basically. It's not 1.0, but that's when this opened up, is when it hit Game Pass.
Okay, but I bet the expansion is not.
I think the expansion is not. Exactly right. If they're following trajectory of what they've done before.
Yeah.
The expansions are not, which is fine. Man, I need to get in that this summer. I need to finish some of the things I'm doing and get over there. One of them I'm going to finish. Speaking of the tone of the Diablo trailer, a game that I'm playing is just very similar to that. Very dark. It's Super Mario RPG.
Oh yeah, that's very dark.
Oh my gosh, Peach just like murders Luigi. That's why he's not in the game. Dude, you played this originally, right?
Yeah, I have so vague memories of it, but I did play it back in. When did it come out?
96? 90.
Yeah, it was 96.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played it back then.
Dude, I'm trying really hard not to use the word perfect for this game. It is unbelievably good. I should believe it's Square and Nintendo. It's Square mostly, but it's like has all the cool shit from an RPG, like some cool side quests, some good writing, good character building, good party dynamics, good variety. But none of it overstays its welcome. It's like really crisp and moves forward, and you're into the next area. And there are some really cool subversions of the story where you think you've got a star, and then someone takes it, and you're like, "Oh fuck, I need to go follow this person to a new place, and then go through a whole." Nope, actually, no, it's gonna happen. You fight them right here, right now. Someone stops them, and you just do it. There's some really cool equipment that's sort of easy to get, like the best equipment for Mario. Like I happened across a seed during one of my adventures, and I was like, "What the fuck do I do with this?" And I looked it up real fast. It's like, "Oh, you use that with the fertilizer, and then you get the lazy shell, his best weapon, and here's how you do that." And I was like, "Oh, I'm right there. This is easy. Okay, like it's not locked behind like crazy grinding or whatever." The leveling feels really swift and good. God, it's just, I'm super surprised because I picked it up in the fall and I played like an hour. And I was like, this is pretty good. I played it with my daughter and she was like, this is fun, but we, whatever, we picked up something else or we went back to Zelda or whatever. But I picked it back up on Friday at 2 hours of gameplay, and now I'm at 11 hours. And my daughter, you will not be surprised to hear this, we brought the PS5 with us to this house so that she could play a game that we played many times all over again by herself for the most part. She's playing Kena Bridge of Spirits again.
Yep.
She's already halfway through it. But then we're sitting on the couch, so she's playing that, and then when she's getting to a good rhythm on her own, I pick up the Switch and start playing Mario RPGs. She's like, "Dad, can I play with you? That looks really fun." So we
And you're like,
played a
it
lot
is
of it.
really fun.
Oh my god! So we're just passing it back and forth, doing. She does a battle, I'll do a battle. It's so hard to watch her not like min max what she's doing and getting the real time, blocking and additional
Sure.
action combat or whatever. But I just let it go. Um, but I cannot. It's absurd how fucking good this game is, and people have always talked about with Paper Mario building off of this and how this is the best in the original. But it was just, I don't know. The original one just looked a little too ugly, which is annoying for me to say. But I just didn't really want to go back to that. But they've remaking it in this way. God, I can't wait for 1,000 Year Door to show up because if that's the best one since this one, and this one is superb. I cannot believe how good it is. It's, I mean, I'm probably 2 hours away from the end, and like game of the year, like whatever game I played this year, no, this is better than every single one of them, in my mind. So
did I say we're talking about the different, you're talking about 1,000 Year Door. Did I say on the podcast, like I saw a bunch of ads for that when I was in Japan?
Oh, like, no, you didn't.
It was on the TVs. They have little like monitors that play ads on the trains next. It was there plenty of times. There was like
very cool
full wall ads in different subway stations there. But in Japan, and maybe even in Europe, the title of the game, I don't know, at least in Japan, the title of the game is Paper Mario RPG.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't have 1,000 Year Door subtitle, anything like that. It's just Paper Mario RPG.
Honestly, that's part of the reason why I bought the Japanese version, which I'm still patiently waiting for, and I'm glad because I'm going to be able to play this version, finish this game before that comes. But I just thought it was cool that it was different. I don't know.
Yeah, no, because it kind of is that way, and it was like, yeah, this was the 1,000 Year Door. Definitely feels still like a more somewhat traditional RPG in a lot of ways. This like with the combat, the change to a combat scene and everything, where later Paper Marios, they diverge from that. They like start separating themselves from the RPG side of it.
Oh yeah, especially the Mario and Luigi games and things like that.
Yeah, they just moved away. Nintendo moved away from that. But Paper Mario 1,000 Year Doors, like GameCube, I'm like, oh yeah, that is a true successor to Super Mario RPG. But it's cool that it came back out. But it was neat seeing it in Japan, being like, wait, it has a different name. I never knew it had a different name. Or Super Paper Mario RPG, I think might be what it's called. But either way, they really emphasize the RPG aspect of it in Japan, as opposed to in the US, where they're like, nope, none of that. It's 1,000 Year Door.
Well, the more that I play, and I'm sure it'll be the same way with 1,000 Year Door, but the more, obviously, Final Fantasy Remake, Final Fantasy Rebirth, which I'm also playing, which is also great, which I want to talk about in a second with you. And then this game specifically, and maybe Final Fantasy 12, I'll throw that in there as well. Thinking about myself as a gamer in the late 90s, I just didn't have the patience for these kind of games. Sure. Maybe just a little obtuse, a little bit, hidden stuff. Or I don't know what. I was more into like action games, platformers specifically, but also like shooty games or whatever, things that had a quick dopamine hit, and I didn't have a ton of patience for. I'm so thankful that these things are being remade, where the rough edges are sanded off a little bit, so that I can get into it. Because man, this year specifically, like, all these old games that are new to me and also newly remade or whatever have made them so much more approachable to me. I'll use that word, approachable to me, that I wish that I had gotten into them in this way back when you and Travis did, because I would have had 20, 30 years more of like experience with these kind of games. And I'm only really now feeling like I'm finally coming to these games. But I'm still stoked about it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool that you're getting a chance to play those. And you mentioned, I was seeing a person on the Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars, the SNES. I was like, is that really the same dude? So the graphic coordinator is Hideo Minaba, and I'm like, it's a guy who's done art on a bunch of stuff that I know, and he was at Square for a long time. He was the art director of Final Fantasy XII.
Oh, interesting.
He was the character and background designs of Crimson Shroud, and did stuff on Bravely Default, and Final Fantasy XIV, and Grand Blue Fantasy.
Wow.
And designed on Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Okay.
This dude, but the Super Mario RPG is one of his early. It was Final Fantasy 5 and 6, and Super Mario RPG is some of his earliest works.
Damn, that's cool.
For Square. I'm looking at his entire history. I'm like, dude has worked as on some form of art on so many good RPGs.
Well, and so many just bangers, right?
Yeah.
I just, oh man, thank God for the Switch entering its final year where they're like, we're gonna remake some old shit. Because many of you didn't play it. Here you go.
Yeah.
God, I cannot overstate how fucking great it is.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. And then Rebirth, real quick. I've probably put, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 hours in the grasslands, kind of doing the hinterlands thing where I was just fucking doing everything. And I was like, get out of the grasslands, like go across the swamp, get on the chocobo, swim across and fight Midsommar or whatever. And I did that in advance of the story, and I felt good about that because I was just trying to hit every single part of the checklist. And I was like, I'm gonna hate this game if I do this. Stop.
Correct.
So I'm glad that I did that because I was starting to feel like this is not nearly as good as Remake. And maybe that's still the case, but I just was making it annoying for myself. I don't need to do all that.
Its pacing is rougher than Remakes.
Yeah.
I think they went a little bit too wide overall.
Yep.
Tried to do cram too much. I get it because the part of the game that Rebirth is trying to tell is a very open part of the game. I mean, the game really opens up, and I'm like, this is hard to keep the story moving at a good clip.
Yep.
When you're now doing all of this other stuff, and so many mini games, and you haven't even hit it yet.
Oh, I know. I that's what I keep telling myself is dude, I can't do that here because it's going to get way worse later. So just don't make. My daughter and I were having a discussion today about 100%ing stuff and about how I think there was a part we were watching during dinner. She wanted to watch someone doing a Kina playthrough, so we watched, and this person was trying to get everything, and she's like, "Why would that person spend their time doing that not fun thing to get a hat? Who cares?" And I was like, "Yes, exactly. Value your time."
But some people like that. That's how they play games.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's people like checking down lists, or people like exploring every bit of something.
There's plenty of people. There's a few people I know that that's their thing. If they pick up a game, they're 100%ing it, and they will spend as much time as it takes doing that before they move on to the next thing.
Well, I mean, you get your money's worth out of it. For me, it's
not your money. It's just that. The game becomes less they don't have to enjoy the mechanics of the game so much. Their enjoyment comes from that completion. Different mindset. Very different mindset to me, but glad that exists, that people will be willing to do that.
Yeah.
Not me, though. Oh, no. Yeah. So you've done that.
And that's really it. That's all I've been playing.
Okay. I mean, I guess I could say my son picked up Elden Ring.
Yeah, that's right.
He's on the Renala fight? Is that her?
Oh, really? The one where you can eventually respec?
Yeah, he's having a hard time with that fight. He's gotten to the second phase. Fight. He's just trying to... He's playing a caster. He picked this all himself. So one of the I wouldn't say rules, kind of maybe it's an unspoken rule of the house. No backseating while playing.
Mm-hmm.
If he comes to me and asks me a question, I'll answer. I don't offer the advice up front.
Yep.
If he would like to ask a question, say hey, what do I do about this? I will fully tell him, but one of the things is just like let someone play until they want that information. And especially with Elden Ring, with him, like I haven't told him a ton. He's asked me a few things here and there. Like he was having trouble in Raya Lucaria because he's a caster and a lot of things are magic resistant there. He's like, hey, can we look up some stuff that I might be able to get to make that easier? It's like, okay, that's all you need to do. Let's had him bring up like a wiki and he could start looking through himself of being like, what are some options? But even then he didn't want to go too far of like where specifically is it. He just wants to know that it's out there and he might be able to find it. So it's interesting watching him progress through the game and learn its systems, but also really impressive sometimes whenever he's just versed in games enough himself where he's like, I'm going to do this thing. I think this is how it's going to work, and it does work that way. So I'm like, okay. I know you
That's very cool.
You've never read anything. Like he got into the Academy of Raya Lucaria. I'm like, he found the key and did the whole... He's like, yeah, I got it.
All by himself.
All by himself, not looking at any guides online, anything. Just what the game presented to him.
Right. That's very cool.
And like, there's something to be said about just letting him just explore and do that, and he's having a blast.
Well, it's funny because Miyazaki, I think Miyazaki specifically was talking about how he wants to make sure that people can, get through his games without a guide, and they can use a guide if they want, but he wants to make sure it's approachable for people to figure out themselves too.
And I would say Elden Ring is far more approachable than any game that he has made before. Any game. By a long shot.
By a million miles. Oh my God.
I mean, it feels like he focused on that in Elden Ring. Like, really, really focused on, like, okay, how do we make it so anybody who just starts playing this game can approach it and actually feel confident in playing this game? And my son does. He tends to like casters in games. He didn't know anything when he picked his character. He was just like, hey, there's a caster class. I'm going to choose that. What did he do? There was... second day he was playing where he was like, oh yeah, I opened this chest and it teleported me to this weird like place and I ran out and it was a bunch of enemies, but I survived and got a grace, and then I found this staff and it was the meteorite staff.
Oh, nice.
But he understood. He's like, oh, the staff is way better than what I'm using. This is really good.
It was worth it what I just did.
Yeah, but he was just completely unexpected to him. This whole thing. He wasn't planning on it, but he found all this stuff. The meteorite staff is like one of the best staffs in the game until you outlevel it. And he was even reading the flavor text on it. He's like, hey dad, it says something about that it can't be empowered at all. And I'm like, oh, that you can't upgrade it. It's at its set stats. That's the thing with it, is it's really good when you get it. And at some point you will get other staffs that you can empower that get better than it. But he's like, yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, but it's good right now. And he's like, yes, it is. He learned to use summons all by himself and totally knows how to use them in the boss fights and pull them out. He found some... He was telling me with Renala, he was using a summon that was a dog that he found in Caelid that does the corruption. Stacks the blood plague or whatever that awful thing from Caelid is. And he's like, it's great when it doesn't die. Actually can stack its bad status element.
How are you feeling reliving that game for your son?
I don't watch it, really. I mean, that's the thing. I'm not watching while he's playing, but I'm just talking to him about it. That doesn't bother me to talk about it. But he's now like, got a bunch of money from his birthday. He's like, I'm probably going to buy the expansion. I'm like, awesome. We all get the expansion if I ever want to touch it again.
Very nice. Yeah, he's got to beat Radon and Moog to get there, yeah.
Yes.
I saw
Moog might be a challenge.
I still haven't beaten Moog at all. Yeah.
But he doesn't even know that exists. He doesn't even know the underground exists.
What?
Yeah, he hasn't been down in all of it. He doesn't know. He's like showing me the map. He's like, how much do you think I've unlocked at this point? I'm like, you've seen the lake and Raya Lucaria and Stormvale and all that. I'm like, it's probably about an eighth of the actual map of the game. He's like, what?
Oh my God,
Like,
his mind is gonna blow when he goes down.
yes, I mean, like all of us.
Yes,
Um,
exactly. Yes.
uh, so I don't know. It's fun to see, and it's fun to see if this will stick through it. Um, I've seen him play through all the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and stuff. He likes this level of exploration. This game is just more complicated than those, but he's at the
But it's the
age
same
now and the
thing,
mindset
man,
where
you
he
know?
wants more complicated mechanics. And I'm like, well, this game gives it to you, and it gives you the exploration. And he loves open world exploration.
Dude, I mean, I always think about it like in just terms of my profession. Like if Breath of the Wild was like a master's degree, like Elden Ring is the doctorate, you know? There's
Oh
just
yeah,
like way more complex.
yeah,
But the same kind of stuff, you know?
yeah,
Such a great conversation those two games have with each other, or
yeah,
really Elden Ring's having with Breath of the Wild.
yeah. Um, yeah, it's really neat. So it's neat listening to him talk about it. He's real excited to play it. My thing is, well, how long we'll continue going into summer? He'll probably some single player stuff, but he really likes to play multiplayer with his friends. Mostly Minecraft, different types of Minecraft multiplayer. But so he tries to balance like his time to really just focus single player and time with friends. And
Yeah.
we'll see if Elden Ring can, how long it can survive that desire for friends.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it's funny. Like he doesn't even talk about the weirdness and creepiness of the world. Like I
Really?
actually think
Oh.
of him, like he's so focused on the mechanics. I don't even think he's taking in the weirdness so much.
Oh my God, it's so fucking weird.
I know he's just like whatever. This is what I do. Um, it's an odd thing. Like just his approach to games is games and like just media in general is just different than me at the moment. But he's also younger. We'll see how he grows into it. I don't think he's. I don't know if he's I haven't noticed him find a form of media or a thing in any media that's like really hit home to his core yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure it will happen. He's old enough where I'm like, something's gonna hit at some point that you're gonna be like, oh holy crap.
You're just gonna slide in like a copy of Requiem for a Dream or something?
No, although I mean that'll be my anti-drug thing here in a few years, I'm sure.
Yeah.
This is why you don't do drugs. Let's watch this movie.
Oh
Enjoy.
my God. And then he
Addiction
fucking calls
is bad.
CPS on you. Hey,
Yeah.
this was torture, Dad.
But yeah, so I will continue to be listening and having conversations with my son as he plays through this.
That's super cool.
And helping him when he wants help, and staying out whenever he just wants to figure it out. I mean, that's the thing with it. I didn't know if he would want information on Raya Lucaria at all. He got there at the end of the day yesterday, and for his couple hours he got to play today, he got to Renala. I was like, I was out doing a little bit of shopping and stuff, and came back. He's like, "Yeah, I made it to Renala, and I'm dying a lot to her and trying to figure out that fight." But I was like, "You made it through Raya Lucaria to her already?"
Yeah, exactly. That took me forever to get there.
I'm like, "What is going on?" So yeah, I don't know.
Very cool. It's so great to see our kids growing through this medium too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool stuff. One last question before we wrap up today. Do you think tomorrow we're gonna get there's a Nintendo Direct on Tuesday announcement?
Is it this week or next week?
That's the thought. This week or next week.
I'm gonna say next week.
Yeah. That's better for them to get further distance from those.
I think they're just get a little distance.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with it's Tuesday. So we'll be at odds and see what happens.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I mean, Nintendo, I trust they know what they're doing. So even if I'm wrong and you're right this week, I'm like, all right, they deemed that this was the better time to do it.
Yeah, no, they know what they're doing for sure. I love how they just kept everything away from summer.
And honestly, they kept, with how they announce things so quickly, they probably have it all recorded ready to go.
Yep.
And they can just choose the week they want to do it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And they can just push the button like, yeah, now's a good time.
We'll see. I think Tuesday, and I think no Silk Song.
Probably not.
Yep. Oh well. Well, cool. Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate
Thank you.
The podcast. And thanks, everyone, for listening. If you like us, please rate us on your podcast service of choice. Share our episodes, tell a friend, and we will be back next week to talk about the Direct or something else. But surely the end of Super Mario RPG and more Elden Ring.
Yeah.
That's the expansions this week. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it's Friday, I think.
Boy, that's nuts.
21st. Is that
21st,
Friday?
yeah.
That's
21st.
Friday. So probably Thursday night.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Later, everyone.